Sony AAA games, you know the type, those cinematic, blockbuster, high-budget adventures made specifically for PlayStation consoles. For the last couple of years they have gained quite the reputation in the gaming community. Usually you can encounter positive opinions about them as those games are built with wide appeal in mind. They clearly are not designed to appeal to a specific niche, but as with everything popular there come many discussions surrounding them. And I mean a lot. What I want to discuss is their supposed lack of originality and the infamous reputation of being nothing more but playable movies. Those are unpopular opinions, but they do appear every now and again. First and foremost, my goal in this video is not to be a Sony bootlicker, nor do I want to rag on these games. I feel like it's important to say that, since nowadays radical opinions are the ones that keep surfacing the most and I don't want to strictly pick one side. As you may have already noticed, I really like Sony games. At least most of them. I'm a huge Uncharted and God of War fan, and I played the heck out of Sly Cooper and Infamous back in the day. I enjoy most of the AAA games that PlayStation Studios put out, but in this video I want to play devil's advocate a little bit and reach the root of those complaints. When you spend a lot of time on social media, it's easy to come across an opinion like, Sony games are all the same. Obviously, I don't think this is all true. For me, there is enough variation in settings, themes, and stories they tell for them to feel distinct. But I think I know where this is coming from, and honestly, existence of these takes doesn't surprise me at all. If someone is looking at them from an outsider view, these games can really look and feel similar to a degree. Story-driven action-adventure game with third-person perspective, parkour/jumping, ledge climbing, and a large focus on photorealism. I'm sure a lot of games came to your mind just now. For the record, I'm not trying to bash on these games just because they all have jumping in it, but when you look at them side by side, it's hard not to notice some similarities. They are clearly made with some kind of pattern in mind. But on the other hand, I feel these kinds of comparisons can be extended to the entire AAA industry as a whole. That's why for the last couple of years you can see more and more people gravitating towards AA games or indie. Most of the time, these titles aren't made to please as many people as possible, but to cater to a specific niche, hence allowing devs to be more creative and unorthodox in their approach to gameplay and art style, as well as taking more risks. Not surprising, since with a higher budget there comes a pressure of delivering a successful product, and the fact that the cost of game development keeps increasing is not helping. For example, according to the recent news coming from the Insomniac League, Sunset Overdrive earned $567. Yep, you've heard it right, $500. Years of development just to barely break even. It traumatized them so badly they have done nothing but Ratchet & Clank and Spider-Man games ever since. And yeah, I know about the Wolverine game, but if you were to dig up videos of gameplay from the leaks, which I do not condone, although if you have already seen it, you might have noticed that this game also resembles other AAA modern Sony games. Like I said, I don't believe they are all the same, and I think they have plenty of differences in their identity, worlds they present, and characters they portray. And even gameplay, because regardless of similarities I pointed out before, they are still distinct enough to offer something different despite them being relatively safe. I always thought that modern Sony games are good at combining a lot of mechanics together, but not committing to make all of them exceptional, and only those that matter to a specific game. Sure, God of War may have climbing mechanics similarly to Uncharted, but obviously it's far from the actual main focus, the combat. Likewise, obviously slow, mostly stealth-focused, resource-limited The Last of Us gameplay is going to differ from quick-paced Days Gone horde cleansing. But I feel like even though they do share some similarities, it doesn't detract from the fact that those are contrasting experiences with different strengths. However, I agree there is overall less variation in PlayStation's catalog than it used to be. Ain't nobody trying to argue that Sly Cooper and Killzone feel the same. Sony has clearly solidified a formula that they probably are going to stick to for years to come. And to be honest, I don't really mind, as long as they are distinct enough and have their own strengths clearly separating them from each other. Alright, I'm gonna level with you. Up until this point in the video, I have tried to be understanding of other people's opinions, but I can't. That's it. I can't even muster a sliver of impartiality. This is just plain wrong. From my experience, it comes from a preconceived notion that playing video games should equal to always being in control of your character. And if any game dares to have cutscenes, that means that it tries to be a movie. Movies did not invent visual storytelling. Literally, Wikipedia states that a video game involves interaction with a user interface or input device to generate visual feedback from a display device. Simply put, you push buttons to cause a reaction on the screen. I don't want to sound too condescending, but it really feels disingenuous to belittle plot-driven games when more often than not they highly benefit from being in this specific medium. For one, motion capture provides devs with tools to set their games in all of those crazy settings and freely modify scenes after recording them. Also, video game storytelling is not restricted to cutscenes. Many genres have different approaches to it, like RPGs that have a shit ton of dialogue and lore, and unless you intend on writing a book, there is no other medium that can encapsulate such a complete experience in a single installment. Not to mention dialogue choices that in some cases can influence how the story will play out, which is something that exists in many types of games even outside of RPGs. The same thing applies to story-driven games. You play until a certain point, a cutscene plays out, and you carry on. They definitely don't suffer from lack of gameplay, and whether you like that gameplay or not is a completely different matter. Ultimately, video games are a separate medium with a variety of genres, and if you don't like some of them, that's completely fine. But to try to invalidate a game or classify it as a movie game just because it dares to be different from your idea of what a good video game should be is ridiculous, especially since some stories are perfectly suited to be told through video games. For example, a character-driven story about journeying to a destination. In order to care about the characters, you have to get to know them, and of course cutscenes will do the trick when it comes to the most significant portions of the story, but to actually experience the gradually growing bond between these characters, you need to be present throughout the most of the journey, not just short fragments. Story-driven games are filled with dialogue for a reason. This is an example of how cutscenes and gameplay can coexist and complement each other. There are also stories that just straight up wouldn't even work in any other medium, like aforementioned RPGs, with the sheer amount of text in them and therefore their length. At the end of the day, we have different mediums available for a reason. To be able to express ourselves freely and not to create a set of made-up rules of what can or cannot be made in said medium. I don't even have a way to summarize everything I said. To be fair, I mostly wanted to gush about stuff I like and try to add my viewpoint to the never-ending sea of opinions on the internet. If you like what you just saw, don't forget to like and subscribe, as there will be more videos coming out soon. In the meantime, let me know what you think about the video in the comments down below.